This is a beginning point. This is the beginning of the rest of my life. I got the meaning, and I got to write it down, because I don't want to forget it.
Just win, baby.
And welcome back to the Gold Jacket Podcast, a proud member of the True North Fantasy Football Network. I'm your host, Jim Fastic, and with me as always, my co-host, Connor Donald. Connor, man, how you been?
I've been good, man. I've been good. Suffering as an Eagles fan, but loving the football this year. Absolutely
Did you guys top
loving
your
it.
division?
For now. But we got the big old middle game on Thursday for the division. Whoever wins takes it. Maybe just until Monday night.
That tie, I'm telling you, that tie is going to win you a division.
But it'll be some ugly. It's looking like it'll be some ugly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But let's not waste time with the Eagles. There's no reason to talk Philadelphia Eagles whatsoever, from a fantasy perspective.
That's your Miles Sanders.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess we could talk Miles Sanders, but you have a coach who frustratingly abandons the run when the good things are going for them. But I mean, I digress. But I do want to open up with some major news, and that is Joe Burrow, our boy, the potential 101 in rookie drafts. He tore his ACL, tore his MCL, has some major structural damage to his knee. Right now, no timelines being given, but my guess is he probably won't even be ready for the start of next season. But we'll see how all that goes. But let's talk fantasy impact. Obviously, we understand the fantasy impact of strictly Joe Burrow and how much that kills some people who invested heavily in Joe Burrow as their quarterback. But what are your thoughts on, I mean, Joe Mixon's out. Joe Mixon, I don't think we're going to see him again this year either. But what do you think the impact is on a guy like T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, AJ Green, more the receivers than anything?
Well, here's what I'm going to say real quick is your buy window for T. Higgins just opened up, and don't squander that at all. On the second thing, though, we're going to see exactly who T. Higgins is, right? Like T. Higgins was touted as being the healthy Mike Williams, right? Do you ever remember hearing that comparison? I heard that a lot. It was like he was a healthier Mike Williams coming in from out of Clemson. We're going to see if he's quarterback proof, though, right now, right, with Ryan Finley. We're going to see it right now because Joe Burrow was doing something special with terrible line. This might actually be a blessing, though, for Cincinnati. You could get another high pick, address that line, and really build something there for the future of your franchise quarterback there, because you got to protect him, plain and simple. Like, he's being rushed a lot, but like I said,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, him and Carson Wentz were dueling it out for most pressures, most sacks, most QB hits, and that's definitely not a category that you want to see from a healthy offensive line. Like Joe Burrow had what Cincinnati fielded as a healthy offensive line. We are fielding in Philadelphia an offensive line that is week in and week out makeshift with a piece here, a piece there, and we're moving pieces all around it. They actually fielded that offensive line as something to protect their most important asset, and that was a complete joke. And I think that Cincinnati Bengals fans have every right to be pissed off with their management and their player personnel scouts on this one, because that's a massive loss. And I mean, are we to assume he's going to come back perfectly healthy, perfectly normal? Like this complete destruction of a knee never happened? I don't think so. I don't think that you can actually say that this won't affect him going forward and in the future. Um, Even if you protect him properly. I mean, if you protect him properly and keep him upright like 95% of the time, sure. But he's going to get hit. He's going to go down. He's going to have to leave the pocket, and these situations will arise where he very well could be at risk of re-injuring, or just this injury has done that significant of damage. And that's why Cincinnati Bengals fans have every right to be so upset with this. And I see a lot of very upset Bengals fans.
Yeah, last I heard it was when I saw it live, I said to my buddy, it's definitely more an ACL. Last I heard it was ACL, MCL, PCL, and meniscus.
Which is pretty much every single thing except the kneecap, pretty much. The actual physical bone that's there, they pretty much did, which I'm sure there's damage to that too. Almost certain. But I mean, yeah, like you said, the T. Higgins buy window definitely could open up as the season continues on. Like even in the off season, it could be there because they'll see maybe a regression as the rest of the season goes on, and you might be able to get it. But the best time would be right now, these next couple weeks,
I think
to really get in.
A couple days. I think you got a couple days because if he balls out with Ryan Finley, that window slamming shut right again. You got to get on this right now. That is the only silver lining I think at all with this Joe Burrow injury is T. Higgins window opened up for at least a couple days.
And literally everybody is sitting there saying that the window is open. So if unless you're like, you might be able to find that T. Higgins owner who isn't on Twitter or who doesn't listen to podcasts or streams, you might be able to get in there while the getting's good with a frustrated owner. But I mean,
doesn't even matter. You could pay. Like you could even pay a good amount for him. Like Michael Lou said, it's better. I saw him tweet this out. He said it was better to still pay what is perceived high value or high price on a pick and enjoy the benefits of it still going to the top and peaking than to just completely miss out on a player and say I couldn't buy low.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not always about the buy low with some people. Sometimes it's about just the value buy in general. If you can get a value buy, a buy that would have been better than right out of the gate when you took off this season, then I mean, it could all just be all about that value, and that could be a smart idea. Which I think Tyler Boyd, that I mean, he was doing really well, so the window is definitely not really open for him. But if he struggles with Ryan Finley or whoever they put in, because Zach Taylor's kind of been non-committal on who he wants to roll with, then I mean, there might be a window for Tyler Boyd, who I think is an extremely underrated wide receiver. He falls in the group of like a Jarvis Landry and a Keenan Allen, maybe not as high as a Keenan Allen for that, but he definitely falls into that category of underrated, but was starting to draw more attention with Joe Burrow.
Segue, man. I like that segue because you just named a player that well, I want to talk about, and he's on the show sheet there, and that's Jarvis Landry, man. What are you doing with him? Because he's a guy that has perpetually finished as a decent wide receiver in fantasy leagues and PPR. Looks like he might be slipping off. There's a big opportunity window with, OBJ being out, and a lot of owners I know a little bit frustrated. There's a window of opportunity if I've ever seen one if you want to buy Jarvis Landry. But what are you doing with him?
Absolutely. I mean, I looked it up today before the show because I just wanted to see where he's at. Since week 7, when OBJ went down, he's a wide receiver 82. So this is the window. It's wide open. This guy is like, we don't even talk about him on any given week except for you should probably play him. But the big thing for me is the weather, man. The Browns have played 3 straight weeks. They played in a blizzard. They've played in major wind. And this past week, they played in major wind and major rain. And it was absolutely absurd. I was watching that game. It was disgusting. It was ugly to watch. But, I mean, Jarvis, like, Baker Mayfield hasn't been doing his receivers that much justice in these last 3 weeks. but you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So you're going to roll with those two guys because those are the two guys you can run in this type of weather, and they're going to give you everything that you need. Like, there's been no real wide receiver emerge. There's been no tight end emerge. It's just been the Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt show. So,
Nick
I mean,
Chubb last week in the rain.
oh yeah,
He went old school with the taped fingers, no gloves.
exactly. He would, which probably was it could have been a smart idea. Maybe it was. We saw Miles Sanders fumble the ball, and he had gloves on. So I mean, you never know. But for me though, like I have Jarvis Landry shares. I have a lot of them. I'm not playing him. I haven't been playing him because based on the weather situations, but I am keeping him. But if there's a frustrated owner and the window's there, by all means take it. And you can use these types of stats to kind of take advantage of the window. This guy is a wide receiver 82 right now in the last 4 weeks. Like, and that was since OBJ got injured. And if someone's not paying attention to the Browns, they're just paying attention not to the weather and stuff, but they're just paying attention to Jarvis Landry and the numbers that he's putting up, that might be the time to buy. But I mean, like,
I'm kind of trying to sell him, and it's not really on Landry and his talent. It's more on like Baker. Really, I'm getting out on Baker. It seems to be a run first offense. I don't trust in Baker at all. I'm out. All right, it's not on Landry, but like I'm out. If I have him, like you can come at me. I'll be selling them to definitely contenders.
I'm definitely gonna keep him mostly for the fact that like even next year we don't know what things are gonna look like with OBJ. I mean, we've talked about it in past episodes that we think the best days of OBJ are behind him, and like Jarvis Landry could be that one to step in. Jarvis Landry's clearly gonna have a role because he's like been the epitome of consistency under Baker Mayfield's mediocre quarterback play. So I mean, he's kind of like I kind of compared Jarvis Landry to like Terry McLaurin, except McLaurin has a way worse situation. But you're talking like Jarvis Landry's like in a subpar situation. And if he was in a better situation with a better quarterback, he'd probably be doing a lot better. We know he'd be doing a lot better. So I kind of draw that comparison for that reason.
Hold on a second. Are you saying now, I know he's a better quarterback, but are you saying that like Alex Smith is on like a whole other tier of talent-wise quarterbacks and Dwayne Haskins and Kyle Allen than like they're on a whole other talent tier than Baker Mayfield?
No, definitely not. Like no.
Well,
like I don't think Baker Mayfield is much higher than any of those three names. To be completely to be blunt,
move. Terry McLaurin is better, just flat out better than Jarvis Landry. They're not on the same tier level to me at all. Like Terry McLaurin is top 12 to me. Without he's fucking shut any doubters up in my mind. He's quarterback proof.
He's literally done it all. Yeah, he's literally done it all. He leads the NFL in yards after the catch right now. He's literally doing it himself because his quarterbacks have been so incompetent. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I said it, like, I think the Cleveland Browns are one of the most overrated, like 7-3 teams right now. I don't actually think the record depicts what the Cleveland Browns actually are, because they got some weather games where the ball might have rolled in their favor when it could have rolled any other direction. With that Texans game, the Eagles game, it could have rolled either way, and any team could have taken that game, and we could be talking about a 5-5 team instead of a 7-3 team. And I think, like you said, a lot of that falls on the offensive side of the ball and the fact that they invested so heavily in Baker Mayfield, and he's not paying off. He's not paying dividends, and he's doing absolutely not zero justice, but he's doing very limited justice to OBJ and keeping him relevant, and Jarvis Landry and keeping him consistent and relevant, and especially to his tight ends in David Njoku and Austin Hooper. He's doing none of them justice. The only people he's doing justice to are his running backs, and they're doing it themselves.
Absolutely.
So it is frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating. But I mean, because you're kind of thinking, you're kind of hoping that like you were kind of hoping Baker would turn and like more weapons means better Baker, but it's definitely not working that way.
I thought the run game was going to open up better Baker. That's what I thought. I thought a strong run game, play action was going to open up so much better Baker. You had two fantastic tight ends in there. You had two wide receivers that could really do damage. You had I think you got the two best 1-2 punches for running back combination in the league in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb.
Absolutely.
I thought the world was open for him, and I don't know if you can't do it with that. I have no idea. Like, I don't know.
It kind of his situation kind of reminds me of like Kirk Cousins. You literally, when asked to throw, have to make the throw. That is it. Like when Kirk Cousins is asked to throw, which is very limited because Dalvin Cook pretty much puts that team on his back and says, "See you, let's see you at the end of the game, boys." And so when he's asked to throw, he just has to make those plays, and he's been able to make those plays to Justin Jefferson, and he's been able to make those plays to Adam Thielen and get the touchdowns that they need when they need them. But Baker Mayfield's like super light version of Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins is already super light version of like every other quarterback in the NFL. So, I mean, as a Browns fan, I'd be extremely frustrated because I do believe that there's a lot more that can be done in that offense with a lot better quarterback, and it is a damn shame that some of those players are going to waste in that situation right now. But I did make mention briefly there of tight ends, and one rookie tight end there is Harrison Bryant. I wanted to talk. We've beat the Carolina Panthers wide receiver situation to death. We've beat the Indianapolis Colts running back position to death. And we couldn't really find a team position situation to talk about. So I want to revisit the tight end class. The tight end rookie class hasn't been overly sexy because most of them got drafted into situations where they were the clear cut 2 or the clear cut 3. But I want to talk about who do we want to own going forward? Because I think I brought it up in a group chat a while back about Adam Trautman or Harrison Bryant because I actually had a full roster and had to drop one or the other, and we talked about it there. And I think this is a really interesting spot to be because you're looking at some tight ends who you drafted and you've seen very little of, and you may have to make a decision on them. So who do you want to have going forward out of Cole Kmet, Harrison Bryant, and Adam Trautman?
Well, I'm actually in a midseason startup where you got to start 2 tight ends, and I passed on my boy Irv Smith because I thought I'd get him the following round. I didn't actually got sniped by Cooter Doodle. I took Adam Trautman because I like Sean Payton as a coach. I think he is the most competent coach out of the rookie tight ends. Even I know it takes a little while to develop as a rookie tight end. Out of all of them, come out like Evan Ingram and flash that big playability for multiple games. We've seen it through Adam Trautman. We've seen it a little bit through Cole Kmet, and we've definitely seen it with Harrison Bryant. I don't trust Matt Nagy as a head coach. On top of that, I don't trust Mitch Trubisky or Nick Foles. We'll talk about them later. We already just talked about Baker Mayfield. And even if he does get it together, or they do figure out the quarterback situation, we talked, there's OBJ, there's Jarvis Landry, there's Nick Chubb, there's Kareem Hunt. He's definitely not number 1, 2, or 3 on that option. He's not even number 1 or 2, I think.
I don't even think he's top 5.
I don't think he's number 1 or 2 in the tight end room. So he knocks it out for me. Adam Trautman, there's opportunity there. I think Jared Cook's leaving. If it's Taysom Hill, God bless you. Like, figure something out. But like, I don't think it's either one of them. I don't think it's Taysom Hill, and I don't think it's Jameis Winston, to be honest with you. But that's just me. But if it is Jameis Winston, good for you. He developed a rapport with Cameron Brate. We saw that. Adam Trautman definitely better. than I think Cameron Braid is. He has arguably one of the best running backs playing with him, Alvin Kamara. He has arguably a top wide receiver. I don't care if you like him or not. I don't care if you say he catches slants. Stats say otherwise, but Michael Thomas can do it when he has to. So supporting cast around him is good enough, but not overly good where he's the fifth, sixth, or seventh option on the team. So that's why just out of that, give me Adam Trautman. Sorry that I went on a little bit about that.
It's all good. It's all good. I mean, I completely agree. Harrison Bryant is one of those guys. I'll start with him. At this point, he's starting to show what his worth is, and that is being a touchdown chaser. And we talk about this week in and week out. You don't necessarily want to chase touchdowns, especially at the tight end position. I think it only becomes more difficult with the tight end position because then you're playing a guy relying solely on the fact that he gets you that touchdown. And that's more or less what it looks like. David Njoku should be ahead of him, should be seeing those touches. Yeah, I love David Njoku. I think he's in a terrible position there and needs to get out. Same as OJ Howard, I believe, in the same situation, except he got hurt. So that ruined his chance to get out of town. I liked Cole Kmet. I really did. He's got a really nice skill set. He's got the size. He's got solid speed. You know, he's like 50th, 60th percentile for speed. His catch radius isn't as great. But like you said, as long as Matt Nagy's there and as long as that quarterback position is up in the air, I just can't trust it. But if I have him, there's no reason to move on from him. There's no reason to drop him. He's one of those guys that you can really, really wait and see. He's not going to be one of those 2-3 year tight end projects. He could be someone that's even further down the line if you have a deep enough bench. But I really like what he showed at the combine and stuff, and like what his actual like skill set is there, and it's a good skill set for a tight end. For me, it's Adam Trautman as well because he definitely has the biggest opportunity. You trust Sean Payton way more, no matter who the quarterback is. I think that the quarterback will find a way to use those weapons because, like you said, it's a really 1-2. And then from there, it's a toss-up for who the third, fourth, fifth, sixth weapons are in that offense. And all you have to do is prove yourself and step up. And Adam Trautman, even in the limited time he's been on the field this season, has made plays. When he's on the field, when he's targeted, he makes a play. So he's already proven himself very capable. And like you said, Jared Cook probably moving on. And so that opens that tight end room wide open, blows the doors off it for Adam Trautman. But I do love Cole Kmet, and I wish he landed in a better spot. I really do, because I do like the skill set that he has and what he could do. And being stuck behind Jimmy Graham right now doesn't help much either, obviously.
If you want Cole Kmet, you better hope for that injury, that hip injury for Nick Foles to clear up, right? He's your only hope with Nagy back there for Cole Kmet to be fantasy relevant.
Absolutely. I mean, when Nick Foles first came onto the scene, I literally said from the beginning, get Jimmy Graham, own Jimmy Graham, have the tight end, because Nick Foles loves tight ends, loves tight ends. And I know from being a Philly fan, he loved Goddard, he loved Ertz, he used them like security blankets, everything, safety blankets, all of it. He used it, whether it was a safety blanket, whether it was a deep threat, whether it was anything. He loved his tight ends, and he seems to really love Mooney. Absolutely adore Mooney. He's almost out targeting Allen Robinson most weeks now, which is crazy to think about. But I think we do very much agree on that point. I think there are I talked about it last week. I think there's like this year there's some really good tight ends. There's a couple legit men coming out for the tight end class, and in the next year after that, there's a couple more legit tight ends. So there's 2 back-to-back years where you may actually see a tight end go in the first round. So I mean,
my tight end premium leagues where I'm hoarding as many second-round picks as I can and first-round picks so I can get my hands on
Kyle Pitt.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts, man.
Yep, Pat Fryermuth, Eric Gilbert. And Garrett Gilbert's not this year, but down the road, there's some really, really nice tight ends who will end up burying guys like Cole Kmet or Adam Troutman. So I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens, but they all have a certain opportunity that could present itself, but it's tough to say what'll actually happen for all those tight ends. But usually it's like, we talk about it might take 2 or 3 years. I think these guys are more like if Troutman gets that job, it's a 2, 3 year thing. But I think these guys more of that 3, 4 year window, a slightly more expanded.
Forward to, or what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that Kyle Pitts goes to this guy. And
To the Chiefs, dual tight end sets with Kelce and Pitts.
Players, yeah.
I mean, you never know. Listen, you guys literally next year have Clyde Edwards-Helaire and 2 wide receivers and Travis Kelce on under contract. So you never know what's going to happen on that offense.
And I'm hoping, I don't know. I'm hoping Pitts falls a bit and we end up trading out or something. We got Pitts.
One more final one to talk about before we move on. We're talking a boom and a bust from this past week.
One of your favorites. Mr. Old Stone Hands himself seemed to got fitted with a new pair there.
Yeah, old Nelson Aguilar is the boom that we're going to talk about. He's made a lot of comments since leaving. Obviously, anyone who leaves Philadelphia does, about how he's being used properly. He's being used on the outside. He's being used where he's supposed to be used. He's not a slot guy. Whatever it is, what it is. Maybe so. Maybe so. But for me, I am leaving him alone. I'm not buying it. I'm an Eagles fan. I watched it. I watched a year of boom and 3 years of bust. I'm not prepared to believe that this 1 year of boom, plus the Raiders have negative cap next year. And so what space are you clearing up to keep Nelson Aguilar on your team when you got Bryan Edwards, Henry Ruggs? You invested in the wide receiver position. It's tough to say if Nelson Aguilar will be back in that exact position next year. I think you're getting a perfect window that if there's a contender who wants him and you want to move him, you move Nelson Aguilar, in my opinion. You absolutely have to move on from him because there's too many question marks beyond this year.
Here's what I'm going to ask you. Maybe Nelson Aguilar's problem was only Carson Wentz. Maybe he goes somewhere else and he continues to produce. I don't know. You know me, I was never the biggest Derek Carr supporter. But, I mean, are you telling me the only difference between Aguilar, booming, and busting was Carr and Wentz? It's crazy to me.
It is crazy to think about, and I mean, I often like toss in my sleep thinking about Carson Wentz and what he's doing to our offense. And you are right. You're not wrong. But I mean, you watch Derek Carr. Derek Carr is a very methodical quarterback. He's not going to make 9 times out of 10. He's not going to make the stupid throw. He's not going to make the stupid play. He's not. Carson Wentz will make the stupid play. We've watched it. We've witnessed it. He will throw the ball up. Look back at the pick he threw in the second quarter. Look back at the pick he threw in the fourth quarter over Alshon Jeffrey. Like, he will make those stupid plays. And maybe Nelson Aguilar was on the receiving end of a lot of bad passes, a lot of stupid plays by Carson Wentz that he should not have been on the receiving end of. But there were plenty where he should have been catching the ball to the same extent. Is it the quarterback necessarily? Nelson Aguilar had the skill. He did have the skill set. He had a pretty sexy skill set coming out of college. He had the speed. He was a burner. He could create a lot of yak for himself. So no, I don't actually think it's on Wentz or on Carr. He could go somewhere else and do the same thing next year. He could continue to boom and continue to blossom, or the Raiders could clear their space and he could stay in Oakland or Vegas and he could continue to boom and blossom there. I'm just not willing to take that risk.
Well, you know what? I think quarterback really does play into effect a lot more than people want to admit. I mean, let's look at our bust right now, man. He's truly a bust, and he's been a bust because of a quarterback change. That's Jamison Crowder. He boomed with Darnold. He's busting with Flacco. What are you doing?
I got so many shares of Jamison Crowder. It's excruciating because at this point, if you sell, you're not doing your shares justice because you know as soon as Darnold comes back and you know that Darnold's going to come back and you know that Flacco is not going to be the starter over Darnold, um, Darnold's going to go back to him. He's going to throw to him constantly. But it's not like Jamison Crowder, he's getting less targets. But I think you're starting to see that Jamison Crowder is very much a volume based guy. The more you get the ball in his direction, the more he's going to catch, the more he's going to produce. With the more limited stuff, he's not going to produce as much. And that's what's becoming very frustrating with Flacco because he's getting 4 or 5 targets a game instead of 8, 9, 10 targets a game, and he's not doing as much with what he's getting. I'm personally not selling because you wouldn't be doing your shares justice, like I said. And I think that there's a bit of a waiting game if you're someone who owns Jets, if you own Mims, if you own Perriman, if you own Crowder, if you own Darnold, Lamichael Pirine, who's now on the IR. I think there's a bit of a waiting game that has to be done if you have Jets players because you got to wait and see, are they going Trevor Lawrence? Is Adam Gase getting fired? Are they going to keep Sam Darnold? There's a humongous question mark over the Meadowlands for the New York Jets this offseason. And I don't think I'd be moving any Jets piece because they could gain a lot of value or they could maintain value or they could lose value. But at this point, a lot of them are at a very low point. I think Jamison Crowder is at too low of a point for me.
I bought a lot of Crowder this offseason because he was a PPR monster. Short end, fuck Flacco. Straight up, man. I didn't even think this guy was going to see the field in 2020. But, I mean, if that's 2020 in the nutshell, like these guys that you never thought were going to ever see the field, they're seeing the field. Like we said, we Googled Garrett Gilbert, and a couple weeks ago, like I didn't know who the hell he was. If you didn't watch an XFL game in your life, you didn't know who the hell PJ Walker was. It's just the way of 2020, man. Just the way of 2020. At least I guess Flack was a former MVP, but he don't look like it. Oof.
He never looked like it after that year anyways. So let's be very short about that. But yeah, for me, sell the boom and hold on the bust, I guess, in my opinion, because it's tough to say what's going to happen. But before we allow our friend Jim to go bananas here, let's just take a minute to recognize Viridian Global, the gold standard of shirts, hats, sweaters. They're doing it all now. So shout out to the guys at Viridian Global. That's at VERIDIAN Global on Twitter. You can find all the gold jacket and True North gear at truenorthffb.com/shop. We have an ugly Christmas sweater out, which is actually a damn sexy Christmas sweater, if I must say so myself. So if you are looking to get an ugly Christmas sweater or just looking to stay warm, honestly, I think you could wear it any time of the year. The True North people just launched it. And maybe I may be dropping a bit of a early discussion point, but there may be hats in the True North future. So definitely check out Viridian Global, give them a follow, check out all their stuff. They're grouped up, they're paired with a lot of great content producers. So definitely check them out and support your local podcasters. So Jim?
Hear that? You hear that?
I hear that.
Let's go bananas.
It's time. Let's go. Let's go bananas. I don't think you hit last week. I think we have to start with the brutal truth.
That's another fuck Taysom Hill. Calvin Ridley hit, and he hit hard with that. Plain and simple, we made that. We thought it was going to be Jason. We thought it was going to be Jameis. We didn't think it was going to be Taysom. Kind of mixed those two names in there to be Jason. But, yeah, we thought it was going to be Jameis Winston, not Taysom Hill. Plain and simple fact is Alvin Kamara has had 81 targets a season, every season since coming into the league. 57 yards receiving. Easy smash for him. He literally, first game, he had 0 catches. First game. He had 1 target, 0 catches. Taysom Hill killed that line straight out. Sean Payton, I love you. Get Jameis in there. I'm sorry. You got the win with Taysom, but it did not look good.
He got
Did not
lucky.
look good.
It was ugly. Matt Ryan played like shit. The Falcons played like shit. The Falcons are first of all, the Falcons are so bad against the
But
pass,
Ridley hit.
and you
Ridley
barely
looked
use
so
the
good.
pass.
I know. It was terrible. It was terrible.
It was. I'm so glad I didn't watch a game. I saw highlights, and all I can say is
I talked about it with you a little bit, and I want to do something a little different. Where I picked out which one we're gonna play, and I really wanna. I'm gonna throw out the numbers, and I want you to tell me how you're gonna go with them. I've already made the entry, and so I'll tell you how I did it after. We got we're not going Thursday. We're not feasting. We're going Pittsburgh. We're going Baltimore. We're going division game. And,
you're gonna lie to your listeners like that. That is Thursday night football.
Oh yeah, shit.
That game is Thursday night. It's a 9 o'clock
there's
game.
3. Yeah, because there's 3. Oh my god, my bad. That's right. That's the last game. So stupid. Yeah, but we're going division. We're going COVID out, right? Because we got Mark Ingram's out, J.K. Dobbins as of right now out. So they got Marquise Brown refusing to use the nickname at 54.5 receiving yards. And they got Big Ben Roethlisberger at 269.5 passing yards.
Mhm.
How would you play that, my man?
Man, that's a tough one. So for me, I think I'd actually take the under on Marquise Brown because I don't trust Lamar Jackson. I think there's something up in Baltimore, and they cannot get that offense to click at all. This whole he's throwing more. I called the fib on that in a pre-NFC North preseason show. I said, I don't think he's going to pass more. I don't think he's an effective enough passer. If he passes more, we're going to see a lot more of the bad in his game than the good in his game. And I think we've really started to actually see that because he's a very ineffective passer. And I mean, when you look at this matchup, I mean, Marquise Brown is likely being shadowed by Joe Hayden. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go the under on this one. And I mean, it's what, 57? So the last 4 weeks, he has 3, 38, and 14. And the last time he had our buddy Joe Hayden on him and shadowing him was week 8, and he put up, I think I'm reading that right. I see 3 yards, 6 yards, 6 yards
yeah.
total. So I'm going under.
54.5. But yeah. So I like it. I like that. I'll tell you how I'm playing it in a minute. Let's keep it moving to Big Ben Roethlisberger and 269.5. This one gave me a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a very tough one. I think I would under on both of them. Ben has the weapons, but Baltimore has the defense. And I think he will get close, but I don't think he will hit. I think he will be up in the 200s, probably reaching to 250-ish, but I don't think he's going to hit. I think both will be under.
So I think this is going to be heartbreak either way you play this one. I got Marquise Brown under 54.5. Or sorry, less. I got him less than 54.5. I also have Ben Roethlisberger. I have him more than 269.5. I have him for 270. Now he's hit this twice for sure. No, am I reading that right?
Yeah,
this is what I do
twice.
Know. He's hit last time he played Baltimore. He came nowhere near this. But I think it's going to be heartbreak because I think he's either going to hit 280 or he's going to hit like 268, which he's hit, I think, twice too. 267 and 268, I think, twice. So this is right around his range. And what I fear the most on him not hitting this is if they do somehow blow out Baltimore with the lack of run game, because Baltimore is predicated on a very strong run game. And if these two running backs can't go and Lamar Jackson is forced to literally carry the load and throw this game, if he has to throw 40, 45 times, like some NFL quarterbacks have to, Ben Roethlisberger, I think, like you talked about, I think you're going to see his game exposed. And I don't think, I even think if he throws 45 times, Marquise Brown still doesn't hit more than that 54 and a half. It is crazy there.
Yeah, I cannot get behind Lamar Jackson. I cannot for the life of me get behind him, and I don't think that it's just like, just a little bump in the road. I think this is something that you're gonna see through the rest of his career. He's a mobile quarterback. He can throw. He's a pretty ineffective thrower, and the weapons are there, but they're not great. I don't love what he has for wide receiving weapons. I don't actually love it. Like, you look at what they did in Buffalo for Josh Allen. They gave him a Stephon Diggs, and that's a match made in heaven. Marquise Brown is not that match for Lamar Jackson. Marquise Brown is probably a wide receiver 2, and they could stand to fit a wide receiver 1 in there with him and have a really good 1-2 punch, in my opinion. But I don't think they've done enough for Lamar Jackson. I don't think they have, not on the wide receiver side of the ball. But I'm interested to see what happens with that play, because it really could go. It could flip. You could have an over and an under, or a under and an over, or two unders or two overs. This one could really go either way. They picked a really aggressive line on that one.
Yeah, they are. Like I said, my Tuesdays seem to not be hitting. My Sundays seem to be. The ones I play on Sunday hit. Ones I play on Tuesdays.
Maybe you need to share on like Sunday mornings what you're playing. It's like, sorry, I missed Thursday. Let's try again here.
Well, my last one I missed on the Sunday, right?
Yeah, that's true. I guess you just got to get on track. You got to. There has been some really touchy situations.
I should have waited. And like I said, who knew Drew Brees played with 11 cracked ribs?
But yeah, go to monkeyknifefight.com. Follow them on Twitter at MKF. When you go to monkeyknifefight.com and you register, please be sure to use the code TNFF, and they will match up to $50, 100% of up to $50 of your first deposit. Play the best DFS props in the business with Monkey Knife Fight, and go bananas with Jim. He's bound to get on track. He's bound to make some bang for you here soon. I guarantee. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Oh man, I'm killing myself.
Now, moving onward and upward, we're moving to week 12, and we're going to take a look at some gold or fool's gold.
Stop looking at this fool. Let's look at some other fools.
Yeah, last week for me, not terrible, not great, not terrible. I mean, Mike Davis was a nice play. Adam Thielen was clearly the play over Justin Jefferson, but Justin Jefferson didn't fully disappoint. Logan Thomas against the Bengals, I don't think did a whole lot. Tom Brady did pretty well against the Rams, even though they lost. For me, Mike Evans got his touchdown, so he completely ruined me. But yeah, it was a hit or miss week. So it's time for us to get back on track with gold or fool's gold too. What do you think about that?
Well, I was definitely hit or miss, right? I got Kelsey right. Waller wrong. Murray did okay. Messick did okay. Gibson posted tutties, but in PPR, McKissick looked okay. Didn't get those 14 targets. James Robinson proved to be fucking matchup proof and made me eat dirt. So yeah, that's Let's just move on.
James Robinson could very well be. They may have their running back of the future set up there in in Jacksonville, which is half the battle. But let's move on to week 12. We are rolling towards fantasy playoffs. So if we really got to start hitting golden fool's gold, because when it comes playoff time, we got to nail these out of the park. And we're going to start with a gold quarterback.
Yeah, let's start with a gold quarterback. I can't even say this guy's fucking name in gold quarterback, but listen, I paid up. I made a bet. I thought this guy was going to fucking lose his job by week 5. I actually was on record saying there's no chance that they go better than 2 and 3 going into the 5 week. This guy has made me eat crow. Playing a simple game has slowed down for him, it looks like. He's picking apart defenses left and right. If you don't know who the fuck I'm talking about yet, it's Derek goddamn Carr. Give me back my ball. I'm fucking going home. Derek Carr. He gets a juicy matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. They, as we keep telling you, the gift that keeps on giving. And besides that fact, like I said, it seems to be that the game has just slowed down for him. He is picking apart defenses. He doesn't make mistakes. He intentionally grounds sometimes. It doesn't get called, but we're not going to talk about that because it doesn't really matter. But I'm just
got the win, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, only 3 games that he hasn't broken 200 yards passing this year. He hasn't yet to throw a multi-interception game. That is fucking huge. That is huge. He doesn't give the ball up. You need that shit. You need that shit. Like
Absolutely.
He's going up against the Falcons. And if you need a win to get into the playoffs, who's going to gift draft it for you? Better than the Falcons. Right there.
Yeah, we talk week in and week out. There's 2 gifts that keep on giving. That's the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks. Well, after my statements about Carson Wentz earlier in the episode, you damn well know I am not picking for Carson Wentz or anyone on Philadelphia against Seattle this week. So I went Derek Carr as well. It shocked me when we talked about this pre-show. You asked me who my QB was, and I literally put in my notes, I've been waiting for this. The opportunity to put Derek Carr as the gold and to throw it in your face, and you picked this week to actually pick Derek Carr as well. He was a QB8 last week against KC, and he's a QB19 on the season. Listen, he's not sexy. He's not a great fantasy option, but he's very methodical. And there's one thing we've learned about playing Atlanta. Don't be methodical. Throw the damn football. Your people will catch everything. You will be fine. And actually, Atlanta's actually kind of good against the run. They're actually just over middle of the pack against the run. So they're not too bad against the run. There's only 2 QBs that did not achieve 20-plus points against the Atlanta Falcons, and that's Teddy Bridgewater and Mitchell Trubisky, who got pulled in that game. And then his counterpart, Nick Foles, finished it off by putting up 20-plus on him. So if you got a combo of Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles,
was that the game Teddy got hurt?
I think it was. Well, he was pulled. The stats show that PJ Walker only threw 3 passes. So if he did get hurt, it was late.
For like one or two drives, right?
Exactly. So he very well may have made it because I think he was at 15 points at the end of it. So there's only 2 QBs not to achieve that 20-plus point plateau, and that's Teddy B and a pulled Mitch Trubisky. So for sure, Derek Carr can do it. For sure he can, and he can be your fantasy asset this week. Big time. And they also allowed 8 300-yard games, which is pretty nice stat to see because we've played 11 weeks and 8 of their games are 300-plus yard games to a quarterback. So yeah, it's all pointing in the direction of Derek Carr and the Vegas Raiders right now.
So who you slapping on for wide receivers, my man? Who you got?
We talked about him earlier. I'm taking Terry McLaurin against the Dallas Cowboys.
Out of here.
He already went. Oh, man, it was too juicy. It was too good. He already went for 22 PPR points, which was good for wide receiver 12 against Dallas in week 7. That is a 7-reception, 90-yard, 1-tutty line. And they actually had a CB1 then. Guess what? They don't have him now. So
That's right. McLaurin is down.
Exactly. McLaurin's third in yards, number one in yak. He's a no-brainer number one wide receiver in Washington, and Dallas has nobody to match up against him. Terry McLaurin is absolutely killing it pretty much by himself. Get Antonio Gibson showing up now too, starting to relieve a little bit of pressure. But Dallas is allowing the most touchdowns to wide receivers and the second most fantasy points. So I think get well the getting's good. Terry McLaurin's gonna have a big night, big afternoon because it's on Thursday afternoon.
That's 2 for 2. That's 2 for 2. So yeah, I asked for the quarterback. You didn't give him to me until I told you it was Derek Carr, and you said, "Yeah, me too." Yeah, my wide receiver is Terry McLaurin. And
anything to add?
Yeah, it's very simple. He's a volume monster. He's matchup proof. We talked about him. Quarterback proof. 7 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets, 5 targets. That's the last 5 weeks. They amounted for 74 yards, 90 yards in a tutty, 115 in a tutty, 95 yards, 84 yards. When your worst game in the 5-yard stretch there is 7 catches for 74 yards, man, like that, you're the gold standard. Besides that, I saw an interesting tweet. I'm sure everybody's seen it. That Twitter graphic that's been thrown around. I don't know exactly who to credit for this, but first 24 career games, Terry has 1,790 yards. It topped Jerry Rice, Larry Fitzgerald, Andre Johnson, Calvin Johnson, and Mr. Sit-Ups, Terrell Owens. Like that's all those guys are first ballot Hall of Famers or
company
on their way to becoming first ballot Hall of Famers. Like there's not a shadow of a doubt in anybody's mind that Larry Fitzgerald, as soon as he hangs it up, and as soon as he's eligible, he's getting in. Like all those guys.
I wish I had more McLaurin shares. I honestly, he was going high. He was someone you should have taken high. I was worried about the quarterback situation, and it doesn't even matter. He'll do it himself if he has to do it. And I regret not taking more McLaurin shares for sure. And he is leading in yak by a landslide too.
So that's 2 for 2, man. Let's see if we can make it 3 for 3. Let's move on. We'll tight end. My tight end, I'm stacking him. My goal quarterback was Derek Carr. Derek Carr has to be a goal quarterback because he has to complete passes. And who's he going to complete the passes to?
Darren Waller.
Fucking Waller. That's my goal tight end. Plain and simple, I was concerned coming into this year about consistency with Darren Waller. I thought we saw his best year in 2019. He shut me up. He's right there on the doorsteps for tight end number 3. Because we've already discussed it's Kelsey, then it's Kittle, then it's everybody else. But he's right there. He's right there knocking on the door with the potential Hawkinson's knocking on the door with him, but he's knocking on the door with the Ertz's, the Goddards, the Hunter Henrys. He's in that discussion with, and rightfully so, he should be in that discussion with. He has a good quarterback where the game's thrown down and is relying on him as the number 1 option. That is something he has going for him. Same with Travis Kelce, same with George Kittle. They are the number 1 option in that offense, and everything else rolls off of them.
Definitely.
Travis Kelce.
Well, we aren't going 3 for 3. I can tell you that right now. I picked Hunter Henry against the Buffalo Bills. Henry's actually having a decent little season. He's currently the tight end 7. Buffalo is the second worst against tight ends. They're giving up the most yards. And the last couple games have actually been very deceiving against their stats because they played Arizona, who does not use the tight end, Seattle, who didn't use the tight end very much, New England, who the hell is the tight end, and the New York Jets. And, Chris Herndon, there he goes. The ghost of Chris Herndon. So the last 4 games have been very deceiving for them, and Hunter Henry comes to town. Herbert's helping a lot of players shine, including the super underratedness of Keenan Allen. He's showing Mike Williams is a threat. He is a fantasy asset again. He's showing Hunter Henry's a good tight end, a reliable tight end. He's doing lots for everybody who's there. He could give Henry a pretty nice game as the Bills are actually middle of the pack or better against running backs and wide receivers. So he may have to lean on Hunter Henry a little bit more this week. But with the return of Austin Eckler, potential that really throws some things up in the air. At the time that I did the research, Austin Eckler had not been activated or anything yet. So tough
Even
to
if he
say.
does, though, I don't think he's gonna have a full workload. Like that's
Definitely not. I don't. I
I'm
agree
not
with you
throwing
on that one.
Eckler in any places if he is active. I'm not.
I know that people will want to because of the namesake, but I don't think he gets a full like Eckler workload this week.
No, I don't think it's responsible to do that to him as a head coach. To be, you got to use
I
him in
mean, you
anything.
saw what you saw with CMC. That's all it takes. CMC, they waited out, they got him healthy, and he still got hurt. So imagine if you put out a guy who's not 100% and you re-aggravate an injury that has left him out for so long. So, I mean, I'm still a Hunter Henry's a role for me at tight end.
Exactly. So who do you got for your running back?
I almost think that this should be 3 for 4. Dalvin Cook against Carolina Panthers.
No.
Dalvin Cook is the RB2 and has been an absolute monster. He's number 2 in average to only CMC, who's only played 3 games. But the Panthers have allowed 5 100-yard running backs, including the disgusting 192 yards to Rojo a couple weeks back. He's only one game the Panthers gave up less than 10 PPR, and that was last week against a swiftless Lions, and their running backs looked like shit. They've allowed 2 30-point running backs and 4 20-point running backs, so I can guarantee Dalvin Cook is joining as the third 30-point PPR running back against Carolina this week.
I almost feel bad. We didn't go 3 for 4. No, I had to make it up to my boy James Robinson. I took him in like 13, 14 spots beginning of the year. Listen, I'm sorry, James, man. Pittsburgh last week, I had you as a fool. You shut my mouth. You had 17 carries, 73 yards. You looked every bit a beast of a workhorse back in this NFL. Tree trunk legs, thick build, old school running back. I like him. Plain and simple, Browns are not nearly as good as what Pittsburgh is against the run. You mentioned Dalvin Cook. I'm mentioning the RB3 and rushing yards right behind him. Dalvin Cook's number 2. This kid's number 3. He's the number 1 rookie running back in rushing yards in the NFL.
Exactly
Number
like we
1.
predicted. Exactly as the experts predicted.
Undrafted free agent. Straight up Marty Miller. Hat off to you, man. You know what you're doing. Give that guy a fucking raise. And the best part, like it's been brought up a couple times in the Twitterverse, they're playing in negative fucking game script. That says a lot. If they ever, and I mean ever, turn this thing around, if you believe in Minshew, give him the reins again, start this shit going, watch out, man, because if he gets positive game script, out of this world.
Definitely. So maybe 2 years, 3 years down the road when he gets a positive game script. The Jacksonville
Never
Jaguars.
Never know. It could always turn around.
So let's check out the Fool's Gold. I'll start with my quarterback. I got Ryan Tannehill against the Colts D. If there's one team that will steal, we talk about the gift that keeps on giving. How about the Grinch? That man that's going to go in there and take your gifts and take your fantasy points and run away with them. It's that Colts defense, man. 2 weeks ago, he put up 12.3 against the Colts D, and I don't think it's going to get any better. Colts D is smothering quarterbacks, allowing just under 20 points per game, and are tied for third in interceptions with 12. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they've only allowed 14 touchdowns. So that touchdown to interception ratio is nasty. Tannehill is a QB10 and one of the quietest QB1s this season, which makes people really intrigued to play him. But this Colts defense, man, they're the Grinch. Let's get in that Christmas spirit. They're the Grinch, man. They're going to take your fantasy points. They're going to run away with them, and they're going to hurt you. So don't play against the Colts D.
All right, so I had to put a little slash with mine because head coach hasn't actually named the potential starter due to injury. Doesn't fucking matter which one he names anyway. Stay away from him for all intents and purposes. It's the Chicago Bears. It's Nick Foles. It's Mitch Trubisky. It's I don't care who the fuck's throwing the ball against the fucking Green Bay Packers. Straight out, it's a division game. Both are top 5 against the pass or against the points allowed against the positioning quarterback. Difference is Bears are going to be facing Mr. RELAX, relax, Aaron Rodgers. And who cares who Green Bay's facing? Either one, they're going to feast, man. This is a Thanksgiving thank you very much meal that they're going to get. No David Montgomery. They're not leaning on that run game. I don't think it's going to be Nick Foles. So let's forget about Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet. I think it's going to be over-tossing Mitch Trubisky, who hasn't been getting the reps to begin with anyway, has lost the timing with Darnell Mooney, lost the timing with Allen Robinson. Yes, these two guys are very good, but it still takes timing. Every quarterback's different. I don't expect anything from any one of these fucking idiots. Stay away from them. Those are my fools right there. And
That's
I'm
fair.
upset about even having to start one of them.
That's fair. I get that. I agree. Here I am talking about the Grinch and Christmas, and I forget that it's American Thanksgiving. Like, geez, I should have thought about that. Running back for me, I'm going Melvin Gordon against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are absolutely destroying the run game. Underrated, under the radar run game destroyers. They have given up 0 20-point PPR running backs. That's impressive. Only 2 have achieved 15-plus points. We're talking like 11 weeks here. 10 weeks probably of play games they've actually played. And 2 guys have achieved 15-plus PPR points. Only 2 100-yard running backs, and you have to combine receiving and ground yardage to get there. Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery. The NFL average over the last 5 weeks in points to running backs is 22.7. The Saints are giving up 11.7 in the last 5 weeks. They're dirty against the run, man, and I would not want to be rolling out Melvin Gordon or / Phillip Lindsay. I wouldn't roll out any running back from Denver this week.
Okay, so my fool this week is probably the RB1 right now. Alvin Kamara. Straight out, man. Taysom Hill behind the bait ball. I don't want Kamara. He makes his bread and butter in the receiving game. Yes, I understand he had a touchdown. Yes, I understand he looked good on the ground. Of course he did. He's out of fuck Kamara. But one game sample size, he had 1 target. 1 fucking target. Me, I play PPR. Connor, what do you play? Standard or PPR?
PPR.
PPR, man. So you need those 7 catches. That's 7 points. That's 7 points he's shaving off of you a game. So, and if you think I'm joking about it, I went in and looked. So, like I said, one sample size with Taysom Hill this year, and Taysom Hill poached 2 rushing touchdowns. So there's 12 points off of him right there. Take away 7 catches from him. There's another 7 points. Now I'm at 19 points that he just shaved off, just like that. Two tutties and 7 catches. I shaved off 19 points for you. So when I was looking, let's see, was it 81 catches a year like clockwork? 4 games that he didn't play with Drew Brees in 2019. He goes from 24 points a game to 17. In his 1 game with Taysom Hill, it went to 10. And like I said, he shaved 17 points off of his game right there. And I said 24 points. He averages 27.3. And like I said, Taysom Hill shaved how many exact points off of him? 17, right? He ended the game with fucking 10. So exactly that. He killed you. He took away exactly an RB2 performance from you. So he gave you an RB, you know what I mean?
It hurts, man. I have Alvin Kamara in so many leagues. My heart aches today.
Him and CMC give you the advantage of starting 2 running backs in that spot. You know what I mean? And he took that advantage away from you by rushing twice or rushing 2 touchdowns in and taking away, like I said, 6 to 7 receptions plus the yardage I'm talking about. So
I do think it's important for Taysom Hill owners and people who may have Taysom Hill that Atlanta is terrible. This week will probably be more of a testament to what Taysom Hill can actually do, even though the Broncos aren't much better. They're definitely a bit better on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that you got to make Taysom Hill throw. If you make Taysom Hill throw, we will see Jameis Winston at some point on Sunday. I can guarantee
I was going to put
that.
Taysom Hill, but I couldn't against Atlanta. I was going to put Taysom Hill as my must-have boy, but I'm like, it's Atlanta. Can't do it. I think the Atlanta game is going to make him still look good. And if these guys if these cats are box score scouting quarterbacks and they're not actually watching the performance of how these guys are actually playing, sell Taysom. I had this discussion with you guys where I sold Taysom for 2 seconds in the Superflex league. Joe, our editor, thought I kind of undersold. I think I smashed the bank with him. Only time is going to tell. Like I said, if you're box score scouting and you see the 2 rushing touchdowns and you see the total amount of points that he did put up, yeah, it looks good end result. But he didn't look, to me, really relaxed back there. He didn't really look like he was doing, knew exactly what he was doing, reading plays, reading defenses smooth.
He's not great though. He's not a future quarterback there. I don't know if New Orleans even has their future QB in the locker room right now. But wide receiver, let's check it out. What do you got at wide receiver?
Oh, I'm stacking the Saints, man. Can't slate my Yankee over there, man. Mike Thomas. Yes, I understand that he was heavily targeted week 10 with 9 catches. I know he had over 100 yards. But like I just said, as long as Taysom Hill's behind it, it looked ugly. I understand that Atlanta is a defense that does give to him, but I think that if Taysom Hill and you're going to box score scout him and he does end up looking decent enough and gets you a win, it's going to be because of his rushing upside and rushing on the ground. I don't think he's going to be passing touchdowns. I don't think he's really going to be throwing up enough yardage to get you the points besides just the touchdowns. Sure, he might rush in two tutties again, but like I said, I don't think he's going to be putting up 250 yards.
He didn't even put that up last week. It was what, nope. 220, something like that? It wasn't even great. For me, at wide receiver, I got Brandon Ayuk. If he plays, probably Deebo Samuel. If Ayuk doesn't play, they're up against the Rams. This 49ers team's been ravaged by injuries, just murdered by injuries. And Mullins is all right, but he's not great. And I don't like him against the LA Rams and how good this defense has been. The Rams secondary has only given up one 100-yard receiver, no multi-touchdown wide receivers. And I feel like a reliance is given to volume because last night we saw people might say, oh, well, look at last night. Look at how many times Tom Brady had to throw the ball. It was 10 targets to Evans, 9 targets to Godwin, 13 to Antonio Brown. There's a reliance on volume to produce points. And I trust Brady and those 3 receivers to do it, but I do not trust Mullins and whatever makeshift wide receiving core he rolls out against the Rams this week.
Yeah, you know what? You are killing my SFBX teams, man. Like, you don't like Tannehill. I got Herbert, but it's either Tannehill or Mullins. You don't like Ayuk. I got him rolling out. Oh, man, you're killing me. You are killing me. Luckily, I got that 8 wins, and it doesn't matter. So
they could do something. You never know. Ayuk did put up 9.2 last time they played the Rams. So you never know. But that was with Jimmy G. So
who you got? Let's wrap this up. Who you got for your tight ends, man?
I'm going Mark Andrews against Pittsburgh. I picked Mark Andrews a couple weeks ago, and it wasn't great. I think he actually performed pretty good, but he's actually given owners a breath of fresh air with a 20-point and 13-point week the last 2 weeks. And the owners are probably getting comfortable again with Mark Andrews. And like we kind of talked about Lamar Jackson earlier, I just don't trust going to the air against this Pittsburgh defense. Um, he's yet to achieve 10 PPR points against Pittsburgh in 4 games in 3 years. So Mark Andrews has yet to put double-digit points on Pittsburgh for PPR.
Really?
And it's largely built around the fact that he has yet to score a touchdown against Pittsburgh as well. The Steelers are number 1 against tight ends. And they've allowed 2 to score over 10 PPR and only 1 touchdown allowed. And it was back in week 2, Noah Fant. The last 5 weeks, the high scoring tight end was Dalton Schultz with 8.8. So if you're getting comfortable with Mark Andrews, I'd probably put a seat, send him to the Pine this week, because I don't think you're getting it.
Worst part is he probably can't. Probably can't. Even in leagues where like I've invested heavily in a tight end, like I lost. Oh, what was it? The league? I think so. Did you? Where I ended up drafting Kittle, Kelsey, and Ertz. Right? How'd that work out for me this year? I lost 2 of them. So like you probably end up having.
It happens, man. It happens. What can we say?
Absolutely.
It's 2020. That we're just gonna say it's 2020. Everyone will look back at 2020 and be like, "Remember my fantasy team?" or "Remember this?" or "Remember that."
The year of asterisk champions.
Good point. Good point. Who do you got at the tight end position?
Jimmy Graham. I'm gonna stack. This is the year of the stack for me, man. I'm stacking Jimmy Graham. A lot of people might be thinking Nicky Foles. Even if Nick Foles does play, I don't expect that hip to be good. Darnell Mooney's coming out and developed as a real weapon, arguably a wide receiver 1. Like you said, he's slowly overtaking Allen Robinson, my boy there. So it's like I said, sorry, I like Darnell Mooney, and I always lose train of thought when I start. I could rant about him like I could rant about Irv Smith and Allen Robinson. I like them all. Yeah, but it's Jimmy Graham. Like I said, we've always talked between the tight end 3 and tight end like whatever 15, 20, whatever the hell it is. It's so fucking close. It takes nothing really to be a tight end 1 these days anyway in the NFL. It's just really week to week get a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be there. Like I said, division game, Packers. I think they're going to feast, man. They're going to feast. They're going to feast on Thursday night. Or
Definitely.
I think he said Aaron Rodgers is going to come. But yeah, that's what I go. I'm going with stacks here. So we got Jimmy Graham and whoever it is throwing the ball in Chicago as my fools and quarterback and tight end. And on the other side though, we're going gold with the Raiders with Derek Carr and Darren Waller.
Not bad. I like it. It should be interesting to see what happens. There was some pretty juicy matchups this week, so it should be interesting to see if those gold and fool's gold actually play out to the way the matchups look like they will play out. Finally, let's move on to tips for chips. We're going to give you some of our tips for championships. Hopefully, get you some championships. What do you got this week, Jim?
So now is the time where I am trying to acquire as many second round picks as possible. Even third rounders, I'm trying to get them thrown in trade deals left, right, and center right now. This is where I think the decreased value. This is where I think you're going to see the lowest value in draft picks right now, especially for the second rounders. Nobody's really giving a shit about them. Nobody's really thinking about them. But about 4 or 5 months from now, you can probably package around 2, maybe 3, move up in your draft for a first. Maybe package 1 or 2 with kind of a mediocre bench player, upgrade your shit in about 4 or 5 months from now. But this is when I think your value on draft picks is at its absolute lowest. I wouldn't be selling them. I'd be looking to buy them. I'm trying to buy as many as possible right now.
Definitely for me, it's I mean, I've been going through the ringer with a few guys. Don't be afraid to negotiate. Don't be afraid to put your own value and your own worth on certain people. For me, like I've been negotiating a bunch with a few people, and like I'm just not prepared to move certain people for the price point that they think. and everybody's going to sell you in a different way, or they're going to try to sell you or sway you in a different way to make the move. And sometimes that move just isn't the right move. And don't be afraid to negotiate. Don't be afraid to make it clear what your valuation on that person is, because that person may just keep on knocking and knocking and knocking until they get you. But if you make it clear what your valuation is, you have a better chance of getting more of what you want if you take the time to negotiate and get the right value that you want to get on them. So don't be afraid to negotiate. I know a lot of people, I talk to some people who they will literally just take the first offer or reject the first offer. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's the way to go. When you're trading in fantasy, you got to think like a manager, and I doubt many managers say, unless you're the Arizona Cardinals, when Bill O'Brien offered you DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson, basically, then you smash the accept button. But usually you don't accept right away, or you don't reject right away. Negotiate. Don't be afraid of it. It's annoying. It can be really annoying. It can be painful and excruciating depending on the person, but it's worth it.
I'd say 2020 is kind of weird for me. I've smash accept so many offers. Like I feel like more offers this year that I've had smash accepts than any other year. Maybe it's because I'm in more fantasy.
It's 2020, man.
It
2020.
just feels like so many deals have been getting done. I feel like a successful Donald Trump.
Yes. Just as he's finally getting booted out of office and the transition's happening, throw the last bit of shade you can before he hides away in some $1 million mansion on an island in the middle of nowheres.
Oh, he's going to TV, bud. We talked about this. I agree with whoever said it. He's going right back to TV.
Take that fame. Take that fame. This has been good, Jim. This has been fun, man.
I love it, man. As always, I always enjoy talking to you, my friend. Let me just get one thing going up right here. Show sheet. Nope. Where are we? Oh, yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining us this week, man. Week 11 has been good. Hopefully we get you ready for that week 12. You win some action. Hopefully you don't have to secure your playoff spot. You've already made it. But if you haven't, hopefully those gold jacket or those gold positional groups get you there. As always, thank you for tuning in to the Gold Jacket Podcast with me, Gymnastic. You can find me at Twitter. The Twitter handle is down there at Gold Jacket QPs. You can find my partner, Connor Donald, down there, CONNORTEN. Find all the boys at True North, TrueNorthFFB.com or at True North FFB on Twitter. Check us all out, man. The TNFF Network on YouTube. Sorry about that. And make sure when you sign up for Monkey Knife Fight, you use promo code TNFF, match $50 up to $50, 100%. So yeah, check us out, man. And
love it.
Gonna have some crazy contests dropping soon. Last one didn't really work out too good. I'm just finishing up some touches on something, and we'll hopefully drop it ready for Christmas.
And until next week, can't wait.
Love it.